Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, guests, and friends. Everything comes full circle. What would you do if you woke up one morning and you couldn't see? What would you do? Well, when I was 7, I woke up one morning and I could not see. And as I lay there, I tried to open my eyes, and they wouldn't open, but just a tiny little bit. And I can see some hint of light. My heart began to pound faster, and just before the panic set in, I reached for my face, and a hand grabbed my hand. And I heard this voice whisper in my ear, "It's okay, baby. Mama's here." You see, when I was born, there was no technology to discover that I had cataracts. So the first 7 years of my life, I lived in a fog. Well, we didn't know this. Even though I was tripping over furniture, stumbling into walls, falling down the stairs, and my family just thought I was clumsy. That's how they explained that away. But it wasn't until I was about 7 that we found out a different story. Because one day I wanted to go outside. And I was bugging my mom, "Oh, please, Mama, please, let me go outside." She was apprehensive, but finally she said, "Okay, go ahead." Well, we lived in a tenement building. We were on the 3rd floor. And I was so excited now that I was going to get outside to go play. I dashed out the door and I ran down the first flight of stairs. And when I got to a certain point, I jumped off the stairs. And then I ran down the second flight of stairs. And I got to the next point and I jumped down again. When I took this 3rd flight, I ran down. And instead of jumping, I was going to just run around the corner. And if you know anything about tenement buildings, the stairwell, at the end of the stairwell, there's a pole there that holds the banister. And the pole had a 4-pronged little design. Well, I went around and cut that corner and didn't quite cut it just right, and I ran my eye right into the point of this pole. Oh my God, the pain. This is the time we found out that it wasn't just the injury, it was that I was born with cataracts. But all through this time, from the time I was 7 to 13, and the many, many, many operations that I had one constant in my life, and that was my mom. Let me tell you a little bit about May. She was determined, fiery. She had tenacity. She was not going to take no for an answer, and she was determined to find a cure for my eye problem. Her determination showed in many ways to me. I remember one time when she found out that there was a special class called sight conservation. But of course the class was not in our neighborhood. I had to be bused out, and the school said no. She wasn't taking no for an answer. I do remember going down to this huge, huge building with her, and in the lobby, it was brown, dark brown mahogany, and the chairs were really big chairs, and she said, wait here. And she went in, and seemed like it took forever. She came out, and she said, you're going to a new school. So I knew my mama didn't take no for an answer. We had a lot of wonderful years. She moved with me to California. We spent 17 wonderful, fun-filled years doing things together until she got sick. That illness took a hold of her body, took a hold of her spirit, and everything comes full circle. Because now it was my turn to be encouraging for her. It was my turn to help her. It was my turn to hold her hand because she was very depressed about being ill. I remember sitting in the car with her, and she just said, I just want to give up. And I reached for her hand and said, Mama, don't give up. I'm here. Don't give up. But in those last days, as I sat by her bed, holding her hand, I could remember that deafening sound of the machine that went beep, beep, beep. I wanted to block it out. I felt that if I held her hand tight enough, she wouldn't leave me. I kept whispering to her how wonderful she was, how she made a difference in my life, and how I loved her. Up until the time I heard the beep. I held her hand and realized that everything comes full circle.